everyone. Welcome to the fourth session of our workshop series, The Power of Pause, Understanding and Thriving Through Perimenopause and Menopause. My name is Thea. I am a master's student and I'm part of the Family and Women Wellness initiatives here at Saahas. I would like to introduce my co-host Kavya, who's working behind the scenes today.
Hi, my name is Kavya Tyagi, and I'm a part of the public health chapter of Saahas Youth. I am coordinating the workshop series as a part of my Girl Scout Gold Award.
The Power of Pause is a series hosted by Saahas for Cause, a nonprofit organization committed to educating, empowering, and supporting South Asian immigrants as they navigate life in the United States in partnership with Girl Scouts, a youth organization for girls in the U.S. to build courage, confidence, and character. Saahas offers culturally centered programs, wellness support, and resource navigation to help individuals overcome challenges and improve their overall well-being. The series is part of the Family and Women Wellness Initiative. I urge you to visit saahasforcause.org for more information on our initiatives and programs. Now we will be announcing our raffle winner from session 3. Every session, we will be having a raffle based on completing the post-test form. So please congratulate Sravanti Polesetti. We will be putting the link to this session's post-test near the end of the hour. So join us in the empowering series to understand your changing body, gain practical tools for everyday well-being, and break the cultural silence around menopause. Before we begin, I'll be giving a quick disclaimer that this menopause workshop is organized and hosted with the aim of providing general education and awareness on menopause and related health topics. The information shared during this workshop, including presentations by guest speakers and physicians, is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The content provided should not be considered medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Participants are encouraged to consult their own qualified healthcare providers regarding any medical concerns or decisions related to their individual health. By attending this workshop, participants acknowledge and agree to the disclaimer, and also a disclaimer that we are recording this workshop. So the topic of our fourth session today is emotional health. Please welcome our speaker today, Cecilia Margaret. She's originally from Madras, India, where she completed her medical school, and she moved to the US to pursue developmental neuroscience and advanced psychiatric training. Her primary interests are consultation psychiatry, addressing diversity, prevention and collaborative child and adolescent psychiatry, and global mental health. She serves both children and adults in the states of Washington and California. One last thing, please note that mics should be muted throughout the duration of the webinar. We will be having a Q&A and a more interactive portion later with Dr. Margaret, and a post-test, again, will be shared towards the end of the webinar. And again, whoever completes those post-tests will be entered into a raffle to win $30. So without further delay, let's bring in our speaker who will now discuss emotional health.
Thank you, Dia and Kavya. It's been a great opportunity to learn and to prepare and come and share all this with all of you. So thank you for signing in. It's been an exciting time. With that, I'll just start my slides. Great. So we're going to be talking about the mental and emotional parts in the menopause. And I know a few of you may have attended the other sessions, but still this is probably a good ground zero to start. So menopause is defined as the menstrual cessation or stopping of your menstrual cycles after 12 months. So the period of 12 months, if you don't have any cycles at all because of an ovarian failure, then it is menopause. And there is no blood test. It's very arbitrary. You have to track, you have to be of a certain age, 40 or older. And it is not because of contraception or other, like a surgical cause where you've lost your uterus, which also is called surgical menopause. But the natural course of medical menopause is basically when 40 and above, you stop having your periods for at least 12 months. And we were talking earlier today about how this can be very vague and how you track, and suddenly in 12 months or a year, you've stopped having it. And I want you to probably just think about what that end of 12 months would be. And let's come back to that point later. Perimenopause, on the other hand, etymologically, peri means around. So perimenopause means the transitional phase. That is what you're going through by the time you attain menopause is called the transitional phase, where you have irregular menstrual cycles. And again, there is no blood test, there's no way you're diagnosed with other than clinical, where you're experiencing these symptoms. You're having vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes in the night sweats, so you're having panic or palpitation, you're having heavy blood flow or light periods. So there is a lot of changes within you in the body, in the period cycles. And so that is called the perimenopause. And a lot of us above 40 and above are experiencing this. And we are waiting for this to be done, or at least talk about this, I hope. Emotional piece is, in addition to this physical symptoms, when your mood, when your sleep, when your psyche, your soul, your social connections, the way you work, the way you feel, the way you have energy, all of those are changing in tandem with your body. That is the emotional health changes that you're going to talk in relation to both menopause and perimenopause. Now, mental health in menopause, almost 1 in 3 are experiencing it. So it's a very common thing. It's not that everybody has only the physical symptoms of your periods changing. So you are not alone if your mood is affected, if your sleep is affected. And studies have shown that the perimenopause, not the actual menopause, which happens after 12 months, but the transitional time is the most vulnerable time when women are experiencing depression, anxiety, or insomnia, or in other words, sleep changes. So those are the common symptoms. What is not linked is like much severe psychiatric symptoms like bipolar, having psychotic symptoms like hallucination, suicidality. They are not related. The common things are depression, anxiety, and sleep changes. So if you're starting to feel some of these symptoms, then please talk to your primary care or maybe get a referral to a therapist through your primary care. Sometimes, if you're able to talk to your primary care and confirm this is what you're going through, then get a referral to a gynecologist. I think it's really important to be an advocate for your health. I know getting these referrals can be a task in itself, but if you're not doing it, nobody else is going to do it for you. So, being an advocate for yourself, you can do it. What are the risks of developing these mental health conditions? If you've had a previous history of depression or anxiety in your lifetime, then you're prone to developing more mental health symptoms during your perimenopause. If you've been through a lot of stressful life events as a child, a woman, a girl, and a woman, then yes. If you have a higher BMI, body mass index, or a weight, then definitely all of these 3 things put you in a higher risk for experiencing emotional symptoms during perimenopause. The last 2 sessions before today were about lifestyle changes, exercise, and nutrition. Those are good places to start. Regular exercise, good sleep habits, stress reduction. I know we're going to talk much more about stress reduction today, but those are probably the first place we can all start. But before we even start, the first step is acknowledging. I think the awareness that you're going through a change is the first step. And the second step is you're often going to be questioning if this is right or wrong, what you're experiencing is real. So, talking about that either with a professional or with your friends or with your own family is important. So, the awareness is what is the first step. Acknowledging is the validation that you know that you're changing. Once you acknowledge that, that is when change starts happening in terms of seeking help. So, the common treatment approaches are lifestyle changes. The next is therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm sorry for putting the abbreviation here. Cognitive behavioral therapy, which is one of the modalities of psychotherapy for mood, anxiety, and sleep, can be very helpful. After that, if your symptoms are persisting and you're not getting relief from these 2 approaches, then you think about medications. Sometimes Hormone treatment and therapy go hand in hand. Both of them complement each other. And I think Dr. Tapti in our first session talked about hormonal treatment. And the last step is seeing if you're a candidate for antidepressant or anti anxiety medications. So these are all some common treatments that I want you to think. And lifestyle changes is definitely the after evaluation, lifestyle change is the first step. Therapy, wait for try consulting with your PCP and your gynecologist, talking about where you are and what are you optimal for. So these are common and treatable. That's what I want you to take home is knowing that these are very prevalent. So talk about it and know that it is treatable. So first thing, let us take the sleep issue, right? And why suddenly your sleep is going off and it is correlated with your cycles. And talk to your doctor about hormone treatment. There are also non-hormone treatment if you're not a candidate. So treatment a little bit early on in your perimenopause, you are a candidate for hormone treatment. Later on, or if you've had a cancer history in your family or other medical causes that are not making you an ideal candidate for hormone treatment, talk to your doctor. Go with questions. I'm going to say this, I'm going to regret it later, but maybe do some chat GPT work, Google work. It is okay. The doctors are not going to be very comfortable answering all your questions, but please have some time to think about this and go prepared to talk about what and all are your options. So start about hormonal treatment. If that's not an option, what are the other non-hormonal treatment? Sleep problems. Some of the major issues for sleep is both medical and psychological. So once you rule out medical issues, then think about psychological, what are causes of it? Anxiety, depression, or is there a lot of stress going on? Everybody doesn't get diagnosed with depression, anxiety. Sometimes it can just be a lot of stress, which when persisting can become depression and anxiety. So we may be able to catch it early. There are also lifestyle changes that we can think about for sleep, which is limiting our caffeine, keeping regular sleep times, optimizing the room temperature, what is our mind, meditation or physical activity before sleep, because exercise definitely we know helps reduce the stress. So, what are the lifestyle changes we can do to first address sleep? If the sleep problems are persisting, then think about medical and psychological causes. And the psychological causes today, which we focus in my talk today, we can address that with therapy. And one of the key therapy that has been helpful for sleep is again CBT. And I'll tell you what the CBT is about. I keep saying CBT. Bear with me a couple of moments and we'll talk. The other aspect is also getting accommodations. So you're not living in an island, right? We're all living in our communities, from our family to our workplace to our friend groups. So when we draw support from all these other communities that we are a part of, that also reduces our overall stress. So the CBT that I keep talking about, you may have heard it, and so bear with me as I walk through it. It is a way you train your mind. And I put this picture because it is everybody knows how to play this game. From our childhood, we have learned it. So now when you see those, you immediately there's a part of you that wants to jump the numbers and do ascending order numbers and descending order numbers. Like that, you train your brain to understand the feeling, to understand the thought that comes with that feeling, and to understand the behavior. So we'll go forward in an example, but before that, I want you to remember the feeling, the thought, and the behavior. Those are the three things we are trying to understand. And when we change one, the other two changes. So that's what we are doing in cognitive behavioral therapy. Like the name goes, cognition is becoming aware of the thoughts and feelings, and behavior is the action. So the thinking and the action has to have an impact. And that has shown to impact how you feel about menopause and how you struggle with even the physical symptoms like hot flashes. One second. Even your physical symptoms like hot flashes, night sweats, the irritability, sleep, all of that that occur in menopause can be impacted by cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't want to oversell it. At the same time, that has been the one of the modalities that has shown the maximum impact. So maybe that is a good tool to have in your toolbox, in addition to the hormone treatment, in addition to other modalities of care. So, for example, let's run this. One way of CBT is take a situation around the menopause when you're feeling overwhelmed. Try to describe what the situation is. For example, they've given us here your heart is racing, or you suddenly feel very hot, whether in the night or at workplace, or you have a tightness of chest. Usually, when this is happening, as you walk this slide with me, think about what is the next thought that comes into your mind. You can have many thoughts. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Am I feeling incompetent? Am I feeling weak? How am I going to do the presentation? Nobody's going to understand me. There can be myriad of thoughts that come your way. Pick one thought that makes you feel really, really stressed. And then think about the cultural things that we bring along. There are things as a woman, as a competent woman, as a mother, as a wife in the society, how you've been raised, has put on certain judgments and biases that you must stay composed, that you must prove yourself. Periods pain is not something you can reveal. That is going to definitely make you feel like a weaker person compared to the other women or the people in the office or at home. How can you, the mother who has to model this for your child, be broken down by something as small as a racing of heart? That must be fine, right? So there are things that we have been taught about that immediately comes and masks our vulnerability. And then with that, we go into feeling anxious, feeling ashamed, sadness, or irritation. Pick one emotion that often goes with these experiences, or maybe all of them come together. I would feel if this is an experience that happens to me at work in the middle of the workday, I'm having a presentation and I'm feeling a lot more hot flashes and a lot more nervous than usual, then I got to know that that is probably a week I'm going through something. I would feel ashamed because I can never get past that to go and do a competent work. So then what can we do? The CBT part comes right here. So one of the thing is gently questioning, is this 100% true? Am I a weak person because I'm experiencing this symptom? Or I'm having a tough moment. The balanced thought would be a more realistic interpretation. I'm having this tough physical experience, but I'm still capable of doing my best. Maybe knowing that you can hold both truths together. Yes, it's very uncomfortable. I'm sweating. At the same time, I can still get through this day. And it's holding those opposites within you that's really important. And actually stepping back, you have held that many, many times in your life. You're getting late, and yet you can get dressed and you can go competently. You're having a meltdown, and yet you're pulling yourself together and doing that cooking and getting past that day's toughness. There are many times when we do the opposites and we hold it within us and still function. So, this is one such moment. This is not Greek and Latin. You have done this through your hip reflexively many times. So, get to that thought of asking, is this 100% true? Because in your emotion thinking, you're going to think the worst case scenario. And we are never kind with ourselves. So, thinking about that and coming to a more balanced thought, the next thing is having a sense of agency. When you have that, when things are out of control, what is one thing that you can do to control that moment or be in that moment? You can be in that moment, you can breathe, you can be kinder towards yourself, you can look at yourself with the help of your friend, maybe imagining what your friend would do to calm yourself that day, or you can reach out to a friend, or you can go to the bathroom and have a splash of cold water, drink water. There are a lot of things we can do in one small way to accept that moment or have a sense of agency and change that moment. And that's what this whole therapeutic approach is about. Knowing that your thoughts are shaped by your body and feelings, culture, and life transition. They are not facts, they are not written on rock. You can soften them with your awareness and compassion towards yourself. On this note, I'd like to take a pause. One of the things is that when we reach our first puberty, or when we get pregnant as women, or when we are working towards pregnancy, there is a certain attribution to society and we have given meaning to it, right? We are blossoming into this womanhood, we are bringing this life into this world. But when we are coming to menopause, are we really able to still glorify that change within us? I don't know. I want you to think about it and bring that later for our discussion. When menopause comes, are you looking at yourself as a withered flower? Are you looking at yourself as no more having purpose in life as a woman? Because there is a certain amount. Are you looking at it as the glorious days of my beauty are gone? It's how we attribute meaning to that menopause. Then we sit with it and then we are able to be kinder to it. And you have the power to make that your metaphor. You don't have to rely on what the society is giving. More and more media is coming into empowering women on this, but we don't have to wait, right? We can make that change and be the change ourselves. All right, let's pause on that and maybe step back and take a deep breath and look into menopause and immigrant culture. When you travel, I know a lot of you are participating here from both India and the US, but in general, when you're migrated out of your comfort zone, then you tend to be more prone for physical symptoms and mental health symptoms because you're acculturating, changing from one to the other. There is always a question of immigration enforcement, whether you feel safe enough to be in this new or old country. You're always a second rated citizen here. Prior trauma, whatever you've carried from the past, social isolation. To name a few, these causes you to be more risk for menopause symptoms. There are other things too that add on to that pile. Limited health insurance, cultural factors that make it harder to talk about menopause. Sometimes we may not have the vocabulary to even validate what we are going through. A lot of times, primary care are going to tell you, oh, that's menopause. It's okay, you can wait it through. Some of the primary care physicians are now more informed and are able to give you a referral or talk about hormone replacement. So if you are facing a primary care who is being a glass ceiling and not letting you proceed, it's time to think and change because these are all some of the factors why you are not able to get the help you can. And the last thing is stigma. Is this even worth talking about? The stigma that both we have and what society puts on us. Another aspect is a lot of times, if mental health symptoms are not vocalized and acknowledged in our society or seen as weakness, then we tend to experience mental health symptoms like depression or anxiety as body symptoms. A lot of people have white discharge, vague body complaint, low energy, because that has more value. Physical symptoms carry more value, our husbands are noticing it, our family is noticing it. But when you say mental health issues like I'm feeling anxious, they're not able to see that. When they don't see it, then they don't acknowledge it. And that holds good for us also. In immigrant cultures, individuals with depression commonly present body symptoms rather than the mind or the emotional complaints. So be aware of that. Why are we more prone? Because of the stigma, because of migration related stressors, cumulative trauma, longer residence paradox. You're probably accultured in a city, in the dominant community more, and therefore you are more isolated from your own kith and kin, and now you've differentiated and you don't belong. So where do you belong? That is also a question. You've changed so much that you don't belong in many circles that you used to be. A lot of that causes mental tangles. And those tangles, if not acknowledged, come as body symptoms. And they can be complex also in our menopause. The last slide I want to talk to you is again, we are all not living as individuals, right? We come from a collectivistic society, particularly here in the United States. We live in a very individual centric society. It's all about only you and how you thrive. Maybe it's about your family, but nothing beyond. So you are prone to carrying more because you're also now working women. You have another community. You are probably in a sandwich generation, giving care for both your children and family as well as your older parents and in laws. You're also now at the time where around menopause is when you become an empty nester. And that transition of who you are, you've gone from being this mother 24/7 caring, you don't have anybody to care about other than you. And caring about yourself is not something you're used to because it is termed selfish. Or maybe you will be called a narcissist. God knows who we are. And then you're dealing with bicultural adolescent children, children who are also transitioning. For people in India, it's a different generation. Their thinking and the way they see life and dating and culture, everything is different. So you are now parenting a different generation that speaks in a different language. Long-term marital conflicts that are coming because of now menopause and perimenopause is also making it uncomfortable in terms of sexual and marital relationship. There is a lot more distance between you and your partner if you're not able to communicate that sexual difficulty or you're being silenced. History of being in a patriarchal society where the man is more than the woman. And now with menopause, you feel even lesser than yourself. Sexual problems that distance you, make you feel more disconnected in your own marriage, and unresolved family conflicts. I'm just picking up a handful of how during menopause, when all these things overlap, there is a high risk for you developing more and more emotional issues. So if you are experiencing a few, then maybe it's time to really pause and think about how to get the help you want. So, what helps? I know we talked a little bit about CBT, cognitive therapy, talking to your doctor, but studies have actually shown that women centered, that women who come together and form a peer group where some level of respect for each other and very focused on this particular topic can be highly supportive. It can be validating and supportive. Even with a friend, one or two, if you talk and make a WhatsApp group and say what you're doing and share with each other, it carries the power of N, it carries the power of validation. Particularly in an immigrant community or in your own, again, when I say culture, I don't mean just India versus the US. There can be micro cultures, right? In your workplace setting, within your own community, there can be micro cultures. So finding your culture, finding your cohort is really important, or finding a faith based or complementary based. If there is a group that is very much about finding out the different supplements that they take, that helps, great. So, what helps during menopause, particularly for the psychological acceptance and relevance, is women centered groups, knowing that it's culturally sensitive. It can be faith based or complementary approaches. All of that have been really workable for immigrant families and women. I think number one we need to accept is change is unsettling for all of us, but you can choose how to respond. And this is where I want to bring the fact that I told you before. How do you see yourself going through menopause? Do you seeing it as stepping down the pedestal? Do you see that something very powerful about you is changing? How can you be powerful despite the change is going to be key. The change is going to happen no matter what. What makes you a powerful person who took on pregnancy 9 months and went through that and found that meaningful looking back? But right now, going through this 12 months or maybe 3, 4 years of perimenopause, very unsettling. You have all along been through change, whether it is going through your body changes or marriage related changes or childbirth and raising children. You've been through change. Change is inevitable. But how can you choose to respond to it is the key. And so, one place that we can impact change is our workplace, right? For those who are working, if you are at the level of leadership to create policy, you can think about promoting awareness. In the US, there is no official federal policy for getting leave when you're going through your severe menopause symptoms or anything related to your menopause. However, that doesn't stop us from creating awareness. When we have Valentine's Day, when we have Halloween, we can make a menopause day. We can promote awareness. We can create some kind of a logo and have everybody participate, bring humor. Make it a lunchbox seminar so that everybody knows. They're going to tease you, but that's okay. It at least breaks the stigma, right? You can promote a policy. You can have a comfortable environment. Those days that people go through, they can have something to at least make sure we can change the air conditioner or have a room that is less about the temperature control and have access to things that make them comfortable. If you are in the management place, and maybe you think about, okay, how can we bring a policy on occupational health regarding this? One thing is your primary care can always write about a letter saying they don't have to call it menopause. They can always say low energy and some symptoms and then ask you for some protected pay leave. It's called family medical leave. You can get that. So, first understand in your workplace, unless you talk about this, I don't think you'll be able to get help. And the last thing is what has been shown to work is again having therapeutic groups, right? Like these support groups at the workplace. There's something about going to work and being empowered there, or something about going in your community out of your home and being part of a group that has shown to be really helpful. So, definitely organize small group, but you may need some professional help in getting that group to be a confidential space to then work through and for a limited time to see how that can be helpful. Marriage is another important place, right? We need to make sure that our partners are able to understand what we are going through. And it's very big topic. Sex is a taboo topic, but I'm sure bringing about that in small ways can be very powerful as a woman for you. So if you are not able to go through the sexual practice because of a dry vagina or because of pain during sex, it's important to talk about that with your partner, about why you're going through this. If you're not able to talk it, maybe take them to the primary care appointment and have the doctor provide information to both of you. Maybe go for couples therapy for a few sessions to understand how you could do it otherwise. But if you're able to talk, then good for you. Talk about how intimacy can be different, not just with sex, but in this life where we are constantly running about, there are other ways. Maybe just sitting down and watching a movie together, maybe the foreplay, or maybe even making yourself presentable in some way and asking your partner to make it presentable and just have an evening where you go out for a drive and come back. So, sex can mean many things, and I'm going to leave that to expert of the marriage and couples therapist. But I'm going to say, like, acknowledging it, having a language with your partner about it, being able to be gentle about it. First of all, you appreciating yourself, and then connect with your partner to find other ways to be intimate. And if you're having more of the physical discomfort, or if you're going through depression and you have no libido, or if your partner is going through a real difficult time, then maybe getting professional help. That's why the colors are different. What you can do and at what point you can ask for professional help. It is a mindset change. So we talked about the work, we talked about marriage, but what about the internal schema, right? We all have our own minds that we can definitely choose what resonates within us in terms of change, and then we can empower ourselves and heal. I know these seems like words. I'm going to show it to you in a couple of minutes what these words mean. Walk with me. Different spiritual books and philosophers and philosophies talk about this. We have all seen that a seed, or we all know through our own years of experience, that a seed must go into the soil, break open. It literally breaks open, and that's when the shoot comes out and the root comes out. So, change is very powerful. A seed must break open to grow. And sometimes growth begins with that discomfort or change of breaking open. So, can you envision, is this something that resonates with you? That can I be the seed that breaks open? And you've gone through this as a woman multiple times in your life. Only when you are broken open, then things happen to you and around you. But at the same time, when menopause is happening, can we recognize this? Can we take a few moments to sit with that picture, that image? And I know many of you today are doing gardening. So this is already something that you're doing when you see new life coming. Can you envision yourself as a seed that is growing and wait and hope till those shoots appear? So, likewise, the next thing is a metaphor of light. The light is most visible in a dark place. When you're going through this darkest period of change, can you be a light for yourself? Can you be compassionate towards yourself? All along, you've ran in your life taking care of everybody else from morning to evening. Can you wake up in the morning and show compassion by just sitting with yourself and having that coffee and knowing that you're capable of inner strength, faith, and compassion? Only when your pot is full, you can give it to the others. If your pot is not full, you will not be able to cater to the needs of others. So, then what are the ways you can fill your pot? Gratitude is a good place to start it. Connection is a good place to start it. Finding meaningful connection. If you want to help or volunteer or be there for somebody else who's struggling worse than you, all of that makes your pot full. So, can you be a lamp for yourself before you be for the world? Again, sit with these metaphors. I'm just giving this as example. Choose what resonates to you. The next step is talking about how a river changes metamorphosis before it reaches the ocean. Yes, it changes in many, many directions, but the essence the water carries is the same. Your roles and surroundings may change, but your essence remains the same. Can you embody that? Already. I'm going to now come out of this presentation mode for a minute because I want to pull all of you into discussion, if you will, and make sure that this is relevant for you. I'm going to again bring the slide, but you can participate. One of you can volunteer with me to walk through a CBT slide with me. And I'm going to ask Dia if it's okay to open that up for discussion. So can you see
If
the slide?
yes, if yeah, we can see the slides. If anyone would want to participate in a scenario,
Yeah, I just want one
okay.
volunteer to come up with me and walk through this. We've already went through this slide. It's a CBT exercise, and I'll help you to. It is not scary. Come on, you guys. I bet you're going through this a lot. But is this
Yeah,
relatable?
I can work with you, Sissy.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Abhi. Okay, so coming back to the slide, right? So I'm assuming that you've gone through perimenopause or menopause in some way. Can you draw a moment where you've had a body signal of something about your body that was really making you uncomfortable, a situation? And can you
Uh,
share here with us?
Palpitations, like it, all of a sudden you'll start feeling that I would start feeling that I'm having palpitations
Mm-hmm.
and my chest will tighten.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I would be cooking, and then all of a sudden I just feel as if I have no energy left in my body
Mm-hmm.
and I just need to sit down, or a lot of anxiety. I felt a lot of anxiety, and there was no, sometimes there'll be no reason why I am anxious, but in the middle of my work day I would feel as if something bad is going to happen and I'll be very anxious. So those were
Yeah.
some of the things that I felt.
Yeah. So cooking or workplace, feeling so drained, and anything to do with the heart immediately catches our attention, right? Because the heart is such a precious thing. It's life and death, and that in itself can be such a big burden. What are some of the thoughts that have come to you? Because our brain is
Mm,
to be on a survival mode in such a place, so
mm.
automatically generate negative thoughts. So what are some of the thoughts that come to you if you could picture yourself in that moment?
In my office I used to feel very like um, vulnerable because you are in a public setting and the IT offices are not personalized anymore. So you are sitting in with everybody seeing you and you are
Hmm.
kind of breathing hard, and all of a sudden the person sitting next to you will be like, are you okay? Do you
Yeah.
need something? So the attention that you don't want to draw to yourself gets drawn involuntarily and you don't know how to explain it to people.
True. And there you are put in the pressure of saying okay when you're not okay, right?
Yeah,
What
you
does not okay come to you? What does not okay bring up to your mind?
it's just that, like, if I so I would say that, oh, I'm not feeling good, I'm just tired, right? But
No, no,
in
internally, before you tell them out,
mm,
internally, what does I'm not okay mean to you? What would that make you feel about?
a lot of times, like, used to feel that, am I not it kind like I personally was feeling that, oh, I'm not able to do things the way I used to do.
Right.
Am I losing my sense, like myself?
Mhm.
um I am somebody who has so many people kind of relying on, and then am I failing?
Right.
uh,
Let's
it's
stick with
very
that.
negative. The
Yeah,
process is very negative because you don't know that
yeah,
why you are going through it. You
right.
kind of want to put, um it's like putting a face to a name, right?
Right.
You are going through something, but you don't know why you are going through it. And you are like, I didn't do anything wrong, or I have been so, why is it happening? And in my case, like, I am not very good at going to doctors regularly, and I was under the impression that I have already passed all of these things, so it was a shock for me.
So it's a shock to you. It makes you feel weak, and also you are many people are relying on you, and so it feels like you're failing the system. You're failing the people who are relying on you. So you see how
Yes.
negative thoughts then goes to the cultural, the identity of who you are. You're a person who's supporting everybody in your family and beyond, and so all of those systems are collapsing right there, right? And if I
Mm-hmm.
would ask you, looking at the slide, which emotion was heightened? Anxiety, shame, sadness, irritation?
All of them were there.
All of them.
They, yeah, all of them. In that moment, you just feel that you have failed yourself. And that feeling brings so much shame, so much pain. And some, like, and again, the thing is, you're living a dual life, right? You can't be yourself in front of others. So you try to be your happy go lucky self.
Mm,
And in your personal space, you have broken to pieces.
yeah,
So then you are doubly carrying the trauma now.
yeah, yeah. You bring a really good point. I'm going to the next slide, but hold your thought there. You bring a really good point because a lot of times we don't have the luxury of doing the CBT right at the workplace. I can tell you, but like what you said, you have to fake or you have to put the facade that you're well enough. And by the time you take your own personal space, it can be even the end of the day or somewhere else. By that time, multiple experiences could have colluded and you can become even more miserable. So, for the sake of this exercise, right? Thank you for sharing how intense this experience can be. But if you were to come and take a moment for yourself, like maybe walk out of your cabin and think about what could you have done? What did you do? Did you avoid the situation, stay silent, hide the symptoms? And I think you said you hid the symptoms and you tried to function. If I were to ask you, are you really failing yourself? Like, is this 100% true thought? Are you really failing? Are you really not okay to the point where all your systems are collapsing?
Today, I can say that they were not failing, but in that moment, it was very hard to understand that it is not the system which is failing, it is just one part of my brain that is causing it.
Right, right. Yeah, well said. It has taken a long time, right, today to say that. But I think the key here is thank you for telling how long the time has taken for you to realize that. The key is if we start working on this gentle tool on a day to day life experiences, then we could start stepping outside of ourselves and seeing it. We are not our symptoms. Heart is racing, Abhi is collapsing. No, Abhi's heart is racing. Abhi can still step outside and still function. And she is functioning and she is telling okay to her friend. So the ability to come out of your symptom and look at yourself and do this process will take time. As simple as it is, I want you all to take home this one message that this is one tool that you're doing in other aspects of your life, but develop consciousness and start doing your day to day experiences like this if you can. So the next thought is a more balanced thought. This is uncomfortable and not dangerous. Can you tell yourself that? Can you tell you can handle the moment? Can you tell
Hmm.
anything that will help you even stand in that place and go through that experience without collapsing?
Yes. Initially, till you recognize it and you accept it, it is hard. But then comes a time where you start telling yourself that I can't be this person. And then you start taking those exercises that, like when I used to feel too anxious, I'll just go outside
Yeah.
and walk in the sun for a few minutes and
Mm,
then try to think about something which is not making me anxious, instead it is making me happy. Another thing I used to do was I used to call my husband. I'll just call
mm,
him and I'll tell him that, see, I'm feeling very anxious at this moment. Can you just talk to me for 2 minutes or just listen to me? If
mm,
he's not available, I'll call my sister or I'll call my friend. So
mm,
I had a touchwood very strong. I still go through it. So I still have a very, very strong support system
mhm.
without whom I think I wouldn't have been able to come out of it or at least survive what I have been going through.
Yeah, thank you. You just literally walked through my slide fully. Your agency is critical. I just want to recognize that the moment she stepped out of the room, right? That is where agency. She took agency and she was able to do something about it. Not change everything, but that agency. And sometimes we say pedicure, sometimes we say go shopping, sometimes we say retail therapy. Whatever she did or we can do is our agency. Once we know we can take care of it, then automatically these things don't distress ourselves anymore. And the last thing Abhi talked about is about her friend or who helped her and filling your cup there. So I want to call into attention. We did this exercise today. Thank you, Abhi. Thank you so much for participating in. And I want to go to the last part that you are not alone in this. There are a lot of things you can do. You either seek a partner or your best friend or a girlfriend, but start putting together a group because you really deserve a village. And we come from India, collectivistic society, where it's always about being surrounded by people and we are never alone. It is our society and who we are as a family, right? So pull together that family or that village for yourself. And I put these two things here because it's really, if you walk away today, just know women speak men, but men don't speak women. That's Meryl Streep. I love that quotation because you have to be your advocate, whether it's your primary care or whether it's with your husband or with your manager. You have to let them know. And yes, you have to step past that embarrassment to educate them what you're going through. And the second slide I put is favorite movie of mine. Ask, is Dear Zindagi here. It is unfair and unrealistic to expect one person to fulfill all your emotional needs. You need a village. It can't be your partner, it can't be your child, it can't be that one friend who can take it. Surround yourself with your friends and with your treatment team. Whatever works for you, you need to know it's manageable. So I'll stop with this. I know I went overboard, but then we asked for the discussion. I'm happy to take questions at this time.
Yes, we do have a couple questions from our pre-test. And then if anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat. But so far we have one is about how to avoid conflicts. Sometimes they can be highly emotional, but how do we balance social life without much frustration? I know you kind of touched upon this, but if you could maybe answer that specifically about avoiding conflict when you feel very emotional and frustrated.
I think it's a big topic, right? But an important thing is when first thing, like I said, recognizing your emotional. And even to recognize that we need to do these exercises every day in meditation or a mindfulness or sitting together with your own self and understanding what kind of upheavals you're going through in a day. So the first thing is awareness. If you feel you're emotional, then, once you recognize it, are you able to take a few minutes to first de escalate yourself? Can you come out of a 10 out of 10 to a 5 or 4? Because then your frontal brain, right? You're not operating from your emotional brain that is going to blurt out and then you're going to have really bad consequences everywhere. So you're trying to get your brain to a place where your frontal brain that is thinking and your emotional brain that is going to be very vulnerable both come together. So calm yourself, awareness, calm yourself, and then think about how you want to act out or talk about how you respond. Anger is not an issue. It is not bad to show your anger, but it's how you communicate your anger, how you communicate your conflict that is the key. So, first of all, one of the things is conflict doesn't mean you're the person who's creating the problem. Conflict means there's something that is going on that is violating yourself or causing you to create that communication. So, when you calm yourself down and then you put that communication out, that conflict can be going in different ways, including you agree to disagree. So, there are some biases that are going to come about conflict internally that is also going to make you nervous. This is a big topic on its own, but I think it starts from self awareness and how you choose to respond.
Anyone have any other questions? Yeah, I actually had one. I guess this perspective is from as a daughter of someone who is going through menopause, or I have like a lot of aunties and people that I know. How can I best support them, and how can mothers who have children who are a little bit older and are able to support, how can their relationships kind of change during this time?
Mhm. I think that's a nice question. Thank you for asking it because I think as a woman, particularly as a daughter, we think we know our mothers like the back of our hands, but we may not. And they are changing, and you're changing. It's a dynamic thing that's happening. The important thing is to knowing that this is not just a mother you know all the time, giving her the space to be who she is at this time, being curious about what changes she's going through, and being able to provide that listening space for her. A lot of times when we are going through these things, we cannot put a stereotype on the person, right? Just like anybody, when you will go and ask your question to your friends, you'll ask them what's going on. Just like that, the curiosity is the one thing that it can create a window of opportunity for your mother to just speak. And then you being able to, without your bias, being able to have a listening space for her and not judging her and giving her the space to be who she is. It can actually make you very uncomfortable to know your mother who always has answers, who always fixes things, and is going to be the embodiment of caretaker is actually breaking down. It can actually even bring grief and making you feel vulnerable. But it's okay for you both to resonate that you both are vulnerable, that you both are changing, and maybe there is a changing role right there as you speak to her. And so being able to be that person to talk to your mother is really important without a bias.
Thank you so much. And then I think we have one last question. I have observed that there are some triggers, like some trigger words that rage bait me. Is there anything we could do in dealing with that?
Can you give more examples of rage baiting? I know that's a very generational chat here.
I just, I guess words that trigger basically, and it makes you feel like you have to have a reaction.
Yeah,
When people say calm down or to chill.
yeah, because they are making a judgment on you, right? That means you're a raging person, right? I think that's really important. Like you can ask them curiously, like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What are you telling me? And you can ask them to explain. And in that dialogue that you pick up, you can actually help them understand how biased or how stereotypically they are trying to fit you in a box. And only when you are in that box, then they know how to respond to you. And maybe having a dialogue and being curious about why would you say that in a very calm manner. Again, this was the first question. You have to first understand that you're getting rage bait there and you're clinging on and you're starting to pile up, being able to calm down and say, listen, I'm right now very angry, but can I come back and talk about this? And when you talk to them, ask them what was happening in that moment for them to put you in that box. Help them flush it out. And when you flush it out, you will see that they are trying to put some judgment or bias on you that you're not worthy of. And maybe you have an opportunity to explain what you're really going through. And maybe you can apologize for being reactive. Maybe they can apologize. Again, this is a fairy tale story, right? But at least the end of the day, you both can at least talk about it. But for that, you need to be in a place to talk about it without your emotions interfering. I agree, Raji. I think we need a very positive, and a lot of media are actually picking it up about ageism and talking about how being beautiful in that age and not coloring their hair and not trying to fit into the traditional women stereotypes in this age is really important. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Kirti. I think talking to them about it take them for coffee and ask them what was in that moment that made them tell that. And if you give them an accepting space, maybe they will give you an accepting space to talk about it.
Well, if we don't have any more amazing questions, thank you so much, Dr. Margaret, for such a holistic and completely wonderful, informative session. We want to remind you again to please fill out our post-test form that Kavya has put in the chat. This helps us with any future sessions. To get your feedback is really important for us, and you will be entered in a $30 gift card raffle for filling it out. But thank you so much again, Dr. Margaret, for your time. This session will be recorded and posted so you can share it with all of your friends after. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Great opportunity. I hope you benefited from it. And as Raji says, yes, agency. You can and you are be the agent for yourself.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.